Welcome to the Dr. Tom Show. Today, I am very excited to have a fellow RTA member joining me all the way from Buffalo over in the United States of America. He's a former union worker building iron high-rises for 10 years, and in 2009 fell from a scaffold and injured his back and neck. He found himself at 29 with no backup plan, financially and physically broken. He went back to school, became a lawyer at the age of 35. He's now married with 3 kids, and has his own personal injury and construction injury law firm with offices in Buffalo and Manhattan. It's an absolute honor to have this gentleman on the show. Eddie Mazzu, welcome to the Dr. Tom Show.
Thanks, Dr. Tom. I appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak with you and your listeners. And I know we're going to have one heck of a conversation today about overcoming adversity and what it takes to make things happen in this world.
I completely agree. And as soon as we sort of hooked up and we've just been speaking before the show now, there's a lot of similarities, and there's no coincidence we're both in the RTA group. It's full of those people who are just committed to making a difference, not in only their lives, but other people's lives, which we've spoken about in terms of what you're trying to do. But if we took you back to 2009 and give some context for our audience of where you've come from, just describe what was going on at that time, what happened, and how your life turned around.
Yeah, so I was actually at a little bit of a crossroads at the time. Like I was fully invested in being an iron worker. I had gone through a 4-year apprenticeship. I'd been doing it since I was 19 years old. So I had already, gone through the full spectrum of what it really takes to become a well-seasoned and, start to become a master of your craft. And I was just starting to get to that point. And I also knew that I kind of wanted something more. So it's a unique sort of exchange of like transitioning while not quite yet at the point where this construction accident happened. But I started going back to school to take some nutrition and anatomy courses, because my goal was I'm going to start this personal training business. I was a fitness guy. I was ripped, 185-pound iron worker. I could climb buildings. I can maybe do that on the nights and weekends. And I was just getting this entrepreneurial spirit to be iron worker by day, personal fitness trainer by night and weekend, and see what I could do with that. And literally that same summer, I took the courses in June. I paid for 2 random college courses at the local community college. And 2 months later, working on this bridge job here in Buffalo, New York, and just unexpected. It's how it always happens. There was some scaffolding issues. We'll just leave it at that. And I lost my balance and fell 7-8 feet, but I fell awkwardly and I hit my head on the bottom steel bridge girder, the bottom flange, they call it, before I actually hit the suspended deck that was under the bridge. So it was an awkward fall, kind of picture yourself standing on a step ladder, and then somebody comes and knocks the top of the step ladder out while you're not expecting it to come out. And you kind of go, head over heels. And the first thing to hit was my head. So it kind of everything just went upside down at that point, because now I'm out of work, don't have any certainty. I'm obviously not doing personal trainer and physical fitness because I'm totally laid up with a huge swollen head and neck area. And I ended up with 9 herniated discs. So it was a wild flip around from being the physical fitness connector iron worker guy who defined myself by fitness to now being left broken. And then you're not making any money if you're on disability for, construction injury. And I really had no real backup plan. I was just starting a backup plan. I was just it was a little baby backup plan that was just starting to come to fruition, but I didn't even take the certification course. I was just prepping. So it's kind of a wild, here we go. It's upside down and now you got to do something about it.
And what, because it'd be very easy to fall into self-pity at that time and expect a handout. And I don't know whether, honestly, did you fall into that, or what was it that made you go, you know what, it's on me and no one else to sort this out?
Yeah, I did. For a minute, of course, when you don't have any real understanding. Now I've done, it's incredible what the transition of a mindset can do, of doing the personal development work that I've done. Had I had that back then, it would have been a lot more of a smooth sail to stay focused, stay on point, and stay feeling adequate about who I am and what I can still do. But I didn't have that. So then you look back after you do the personal development, and I realized what things I was actually doing unknowingly or unconsciously that are critical to the personal development mindset of becoming more and stepping into that best self kind of mindset. And I started feeling inadequate. I started feeling insecure, and I didn't know what I was going to even do about it, to be honest with you. But I just knew that I wasn't done yet. Like I kept, no matter how dark those thoughts, and I mean, it got dark. It went really low. Like think about, going from that where iron workers are like the apex construction worker. It is what it is. We're the first ones there usually to put the steel structure up, and then the rest of the trades come in behind you and work on the beams that you constructed. So when you're there, it's just open air and a crane and some steel beams, spinning around in the wind. And we have that like alpha mindset, and you go from that, which is ingrained in you, like kind of like a rite of passage, to sitting on your couch, flipping through the TV, got a prescription for some pain medication, and just going to keep refilling it every 30 days because your back is jacked up. And I actually had like that moment though, where I let that wash over me, like, oh, poor me kind of thing. But I knew I had to do something about it, because my dad, I'm telling you, my dad always told me one thing that I will stick with me forever. And it was a simple statement that no one is coming. No one is going to do it for you. There's no one. And that was, he didn't say that to me when I was hurt. He told me that when I was a kid. Like, if you want anything, you have to go do it. That's it. There's no one coming to open the door and say, look, I have this great opportunity for you, and your life's going to be wonderful. It doesn't happen like that. So just having that little reminder was enough for me to say, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she was in college. I had just given myself a couple of A's in that college credits. I was like, the wheels started spinning. I'm out on disability. I know I have a brain that actually works, and I have confidence that I'm a pretty smart person and I can do things still. What am I going to do? And then I started putting 2 and 2 together, and the wheels and the brain and everything started spinning to where I could actually go back to school while injured, while recovering, instead of sitting around and wallowing in the darkness, and actually start setting those little mini targets. And next thing you know, it was an associate's degree. And then it was like, well, I might as well just roll it into a bachelor's. And then that was starting to form. And then all of a sudden the idea, like, what if you could go to law school? Like, what if that could even happen? Like, what were the chances that you could even do that? And I just kept putting those things out there. And the next thing you know, I just kept hitting them and hitting them and hitting them, and one thing after another. And then it was kind of like, all right, this is, the story was born, so to speak. Like, you have this story now of, overcoming some pretty decent adversity. I don't have any, like, I'm not special. I know there's people that have it way worse than that, but there are also people who I think could benefit from just having that message of hope, that no matter what the injury is, no matter what your setbacks are, if you keep that mindset and your mind is sharp, you still can do a lot more things. It might not be the life you had, and that's fine. Like, I've come to terms, I'm not the same physical specimen that I was at 27. I know obviously age is a factor, but I still feel that brokenness, that pain, that chronic, back and neck pain. It doesn't go away. It doesn't magically get better one day. So all of that kind of wrapped up into channeling it. And then you get the markers start hitting them, and you start getting that momentum going, and you start getting more enthusiastic about like what you're actually doing. And that's when it gets really exciting. So it went from the darkness to like, holy smokes, this is actually like, this is intense. You can keep going and keep going and keep going. And next thing you know, here I am, have my own law firm. I have a beautiful family. I have my own fitness regimen that keeps me in good shape. It's not the same as it used to be. I'm not squatting, 400 pounds on my shoulders. I can't do anything like that, but we modify, you adapt, and you overcome kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
It's so true. And you definitely, you hit the nail on the head there with momentum being the key. And a lot of people get just knocked off that momentum so easy. And I love that your dad said that no one's coming for you. And it's really interesting, because one thing that keeps me going is a comment that my dad made to me years ago. And his comment was, whatever you're going through right now, you'll look back in a couple of months and it won't seem very significant at all. We think when we're in a dark situation, it's the worst thing ever, and we're never going to get out of it. And if we understand that, well, we will get out of it, and no one's coming to save us, then we're on that road, dude. And what you talk about your journey there, did your personal development journey start before you went to law school, or when you started to get a taste of, actually, I can do this, how can I increase this?
Right. Well, that's great. And I have to comment, I just finished a book by Eckhart Tolle, a new earth. And he talked about that same concept that your father was talking about. And my wife and I were just discussing this on our recent trip. And we were like, what did it say? This too shall pass. But everyone looks at that as the darkness, but it's also the same for the light and the greatness. Everything is just a moment, right? It's all about being in that present moment. This too shall pass is about the darkness, but it's also about when great things happen, not to relish in your own sort of highlights and greatness. So that is a great point to make. And then the personal development, that is actually an interesting story, because I committed myself when I went back to school to what I thought was becoming a student of life, that I'm going to just learn. I'm going to open my mind and learn and just be a sponge and soak up as much knowledge as I can get. And I did that academically, right? And it was great. But it was funny because a couple of years after graduating law school and working at this personal injury firm here in Buffalo for a couple of years, I actually stumbled into it randomly at one of our like continuing learning education credit courses. I ran into this really amazing attorney she's from Vancouver, Canada, and she was talking to me about the power of neuroscience and how it's really important and integral to like understanding a jury and how you're connecting with people emotionally and on different levels than just, telling your story for a jury trial. And I went home from that and I started doing all this research and neurology and neuroscience. And I'm like, what is going on in the brain? And I stumbled across Think and Grow Rich in that process of looking for those books. And I read that book and I swear everything just changed. Like I immediately felt like I was missing a huge part of the pie of what we're doing here, how you're able to process your thoughts and channel the energy and be focused and be principled and disciplined. And it was like, I knew that my journey had just begun. My learning had just begun. So then it was like, I started becoming obsessed. That's the only way I can really put it. I became so obsessed that since in 2018, that happened after my appendix burst and had this whole sepsis fun summer of being out of work again with a random, it came after that again in the thirst for let me absorb some more stuff. And I probably put in over 1,000 hours of material strictly on personal development. And now it's the only thing I really crave when it comes to like a daily, I need to feed myself that kind of ancient wisdom. And it's been around. It's not my wisdom. The stuff I talk about in all my content or the people I try to help with, mindset, it's not my wisdom. I'm just channeling this stuff that's been around for thousands of years that we don't really focus on today or teach.
It's so true. Like that Think and Grow Rich book is pretty much every book is the same, but packaged differently. Like all of these books behind me are probably Think and Grow Rich versions of. And Think and Grow Rich was written before they knew the neuroscience.
Right.
It's a law of life, isn't it?
It is. It is an eye-opening experience. And I thought starting my own law firm and becoming, self-actualized in the way of entrepreneurship. And I thought that was like this amazing liberating feeling of like, I can do this. I'm making my own path now. It pales in comparison to when the light bulb finally goes on in the personal development world of who I really am, what I believe now that I'm here for, and having that purpose and that definiteness of the purpose kind of thing, and really just going all in on it. And I'll tell you, one of the things that really changed my whole life was this year, I actually put together my core values, and it took me months. I recommend this to everyone, months, even for personal, even if you're an employee and you don't really have a reason to set up company core values, that's not what I'm really talking about right now. First, I'm talking about helping you identify who you are as a human being, what matters to you, and then knowing that that's the path you walk, right? So when I did this and I finally put them all together, I didn't just pick 8 words. I chose the words that represented what I feel on the inside and that I live on the outside. And then I actually had to define them, all of them, for what those words truly mean to me, like who we are type thing, who I am. I use them for my law firm. But right now, my law firm is a solo practice. So that's how I sort of took the next step, if you will, into really stepping into the power kind of thing. I now know it's right in front of me. This is who I am. This is what matters to me. And I don't deviate from that. The paper says what I am. I don't have to waver, or today I might have a a bad decision, not on those points. It's never an issue now because I have the path now. You know what I mean?
But I really do think the key to a successful life is congruency and authenticity. And knowing your values allows you to be congruent and authentic and know when you are on track or when you're maybe deviating off track.
Exactly.
And that's a great point for our audience to maybe to get some real tangible take homes. Like you say, work on your values. Can you elaborate a little bit of where somebody could start if they've got no concept of what you're talking about?
Right.
They're seeing someone in front of them who has gone from erecting steel buildings to being at the bottom of the pit to then rising up towards the top or heading that way. How can people start to actually get involved with those core values?
So I would say you have to do some real reflecting. Like the reflection points of my life before I even did that were the critical like precursor to have any sort of idea about like what really matters to you. And sometimes we get so caught up in our society, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, that we don't feel like we have any time. And it's like this, you know, woo-woo kind of temple, Shaolin, you know, monastery stuff, but it's really not. It's really important to have some time to like shut your mind off from all the noise and all the craziness of our lives. And when you do that, I mean, like literally 5 or 10 minutes, people say, I don't have time. 10 minutes of just working on sitting in a room, put some headphones on, put some frequencies, binaural beats, whatever you want to just, it just helps you to just shut the world out for a minute. And when you can do that, when you can find a little bit of that quiet time, you can really start to really think about what are the values, what are the ideals that matter to me? Like, who am I as a person? Am I loyal? Am I honest? Am I a hard worker? And if I've actually heard people say, if you don't know, if you actually struggle with this, if you don't know like what you bring or what kind of values you have, ask 2 or 3 of the people who are closest to you what you mean to them or who you are to them, and they will tell you. They will tell you straight up, you're one of the most honest people I've ever met. You're one of the most caring and loving people I've ever known in my whole life. And you'll say, yeah, that is who I am. And that's a great starting point, because now you have a place marker to say, let's start here and see where it goes. And then obviously you have to do the personal development work. You have to. It is mental health. I always say this, it's mental health. It's not personal development to be like achieving greatness and like we're all ascending to like this, you know, that like corporate ladder mindset that people sort of get caught up on. And they want to detach from that. A lot of people say, that's not for me. This is just mental health. That's all it is, plain and simple. It is to give you 20 minutes a day. I said 10 minutes for quiet time. But if you can find 10 pages or 30 minutes to read a book before bed, that's not a fiction tale about some romance in a faraway land. If you can do that and just start feeding your brain that really good content that causes you to start getting the wheels spinning and thinking in a different direction, you'll realize that your whole life is going to change each and every day, because you're going to crave it. You're going to go back and get more of it. You're going to want the next book that leads from that place. And there's plenty of options nowadays. There's kind of no excuse, to be honest. There's Audible, there's podcasts. There are so many ways to get the information into your airwaves. To Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins' famous mentor, legendary personal development guy, his quote, every single day, you must stand guard at the gateway of your mind, at the doorway of your mind, every day. It's not a like once in a while thing. So I started hearing those things and I'm thinking, yeah, what am I allowing to come in? What am I doing every day to let the world's noise pull me into this nonsense versus staying centered?
It's so true, because you're either being washed one way or choosing to wash another way.
Exactly.
It's amazing you say that, because I just interviewed a guy on the podcast. It's yet to be released, but he stage 4 liver cancer, like literally the next thing is death. He's got 3 months to live. We've interviewed him. He's 2.5 years out from that diagnosis and just killing life. And he said the number one thing is the mindset. And the medical system here in the UK was like, really sorry, you're going to die in a few months, get your affairs in order and deal with it. And it's like, it's the same everywhere we go, whether it's in health or business or life or relationships. You can either take it the way that everybody says, or you can choose. You can choose your path. Yeah. And you're testament to that.
Yes. And there are so many once you go down that path of realizing, again, I'm no one special. I know that. It's just an example, right? An example to myself. Like I know, like someone's like, how did I do that? How did I do that? It wasn't until I did the personal development until I realized, it was a paradigm shift. Sometimes you can there's two ways, as Bob Proctor says, there's like two ways to change your paradigm, which is your framework, the framework that you're operating under in your mind. One of them is to do it through the personal development on your own and like make that active decision, which is, you have to be determined to make the changes in your life that you want to make. The other way is when something totally like unexpected and could be good or bad, I guess, but most times it's bad, happens and everything switches in your whole life. And people have that. We all have lives that things are going to happen. But the greatest part of this whole journey now is that, as I told you, I went through all that and then I had a pretty serious medical event. The appendix burst, but it was like, I got sepsis. I was like almost dying at my house. I was like pale and gray. They let me go from the hospital. It was a crazy story. I was out of work for over a month. It was wild. And I'm telling you that because when you do the work, and you have to do the work for your mental health, you understand that the next event, the next issue in life is just over the horizon, right? I always think of myself like building this fortified ship out on the sea. And we all know that storms are coming. They're going to come every day. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. If you do this work, at least you have a chance to put some real good steel plating on that ship, and the smaller storms will blow right off the bow, right? And the bigger ones, well, we're all human. So, sometimes big storms can really have a pretty big impact on our lives, but without doing the work, you're just going to be going with the tide every way. When the waves blow you this way, you're going to go that way. When they blow you that way, you're going to go that way. And when you're doing this work, you find a way to stay centered, and you have that ability to just plow right through, straight forward. And that's really that's everything to me, so that I can handle adversity now on a micro and macro level and not lose my stuff every time it happens, or watch myself come crumbling down to pieces. I stay strong. I'm here for my family. That's what I have to do. I'm the leader of the family in my own mind. My wife's a powerhouse. I'm just saying that's my mindset. You know what I mean?
It has to be a mindset, because I have that mindset, but I do know that my wife wears the trousers in this household.
Damn right. Damn right.
But it's true. Like, there's a couple of points you said there I want to touch on, like events happening for a reason. And you've said several times now, like, I'm nobody special. And it's true. Like, we look at, like in Arte, we look up to Andy, and we look up to Ed, and you might look up to Tony Robbins. Even all of those guys, even the Queen of England takes a shit. Everybody's normal. Everybody's the same.
Right.
Nobody's special. Everyone has the ability to do something different. And Ed says it well. Ed Milet, he says, events in life happen for us, not to us.
Yep.
And if we take your event, like, for instance, you said before the show, you see, I've just had surgery, and I've been forced to take 10 weeks off this year. But it's actually enabled growth in my businesses, even though I've had to step back from some of them.
Right.
So if we went to your event in 2009 and we thought to ourselves, that happened for you and not to you.
Right.
Can you think of the reason it happened? Like, what was the reason? And now what is your real purpose?
I believe the reason is so that I could wake up and not be completely caught up in my own story, right? My own ego, my own identity of, I'm this iron worker. I think I'm cool because I can climb buildings and do things that most people wouldn't ever even try to do if they, I had to break from that ego that was starting to getting in my own head, right? And I didn't know who I was. I thought I did at the time. It's great. I thought I was like, I'm this, I thought I was capable and able and I could do anything. And I had this invincible, mindset. And I know part of that's being young, but at the same time, once this really happened and it forced me to step back, it allowed me to really take a good look at who I am and how I've treated other people and how I've treated myself internally. And I believe that's why it happened. And that was the reason for me to go through that, was so I could have a much, much broader perspective and understanding of what we're doing here in this life, instead of just, we're just caught up in it most of the time, most people, and I was, and now I'm not. Now I've been able to step back and truly, overused expression here, but truly really see the forest through the trees. Like, I'm not looking at each tree and thinking, oh, this is what it is today and this is what it is tomorrow. I'm trying to make the chess moves now and not play checkers with life. And that is like the biggest gift that I could have ever been given. Sure, my back hurts a lot of days. It has, some days are great, some days are not so great. That's just the way it goes now. But I've been given an opportunity, right? And I have seized the opportunity to make the changes that I know I needed to make to be a better person, to be a better human being. That's it. And now I'm going to fall short, right? I'm going to fall short every day. At times I have like that reflection of like, what did I do today that I could have done better? How was my interaction with my son or with my daughter or with my wife or with my mom? Like, was I short on the phone? Was I getting annoyed about some nonsense in the big picture? It's a bunch of nonsense. It doesn't really matter. No one's laying on their deathbed thinking like, oh, I'm really upset that my mom stayed at my sister's instead of, like, are you kidding me with the nonsense drama that people cause in their lives? Let it go. So my purpose now is Stephen Covey's 8th habit. Find your voice and help inspire others to find theirs. Like that resonated with me because now that I've had the awakening of sorts, I know that I can help people just sort of break the wheel, right? Break the hamster wheel of life where we get caught up in our own drama every single day. And I watch it, you watch it, and I just know there's a better way. And it's not an easy way. Nothing is easy, but there's a way. And the information is available to all of us. That's why the You're Nothing Special thing comes in, is that I've sort of hardened my one side of me to say, enough with the excuses for other people too. You have the information. I have the information. It's at your fingertips. We're all cybernetic organisms, as the great Elon Musk's quote was. And we all walk around every day digitized with our information. It's there. It's what you choose to let through that gateway or doorway of your mind every day. So choosing wisely will set you on a path that you will never regret going down, because, as I said, it is the ultimate liberation. And I sound all self-righteous. I'm not trying to be like that. I'm just saying I'm grateful that I had that awakening.
You don't sound self-righteous at all. You sound extremely genuine, like you're talking from your soul, not from your throat or from your ego. Dude, your kids are blessed. Your family's so blessed to have this version, this Eddie 2.0,
Yes,
which is incredible. And you say your mission is to help others. So, as we start to wrap up the show, like, where can people start? Like, you've got this, okay, let's talk to this construction worker. Let's talk to this guy who is a man's man, and he's hard at work, and his proof of it is in his muscle. But he knows there's something different.
Yeah.
Where can he start?
Well, that's the key distinction that you said that at the end. It changes my answer then. I was going to say, I'll do the 2-part real quick. I was going to say, you first must ask yourself and know. And if you don't know, it's okay. That's part of the quest. What do I want out of this life? Like, what am I doing with my day-to-day life? Am I happy with what I'm doing? If you have that answer and you already know and you're happy with your construction life or whatever job you have, it satisfies you. You love going to see the people that you see. You're satisfied that the financials are adequate for your quality of life, and everything is good and your family is good. Well, then in the entrepreneurial or like career-wise sense, you should be happy and have some freedom to come home, watch the football game, enjoy and be present with your family, and not think, oh, I have to be doing more. I have to be doing more to be keeping up with. That is not any of the stuff that I'm trying to say. However, there's 2 other things. If you're in that life, you can always still be the best version of you in that life and be happy to be the best husband, the best dad, the best human, the best coworker, the best employee. And I think we all should strive to do that. That'll make us all so much better if we're all actually striving for that excellence, right? But if you find that there is something missing, and that's the twist that you threw on the end of that question, if you're there and you know that you're ultimately meant for something else, but you're kind of just doing what you have to do right now to get by, well, there is where I had the biggest misconception when I was in my 20s, I thought I'm going to be an iron worker for the rest of my life, because how could I ever change? How could I ever go back to school? It would take forever to take a couple night classes here and there through the semesters and do a part-time student. And then I realized that by the time I became a lawyer and did all that work anyways, that almost, 7-8 years had passed. And during that time, I probably could have still done almost, if not all of it. And maybe you could add a little more time, but we just get caught up in the time. Like, oh, my time passed. I'm in my 30s and I'm already, it's too late. No, it's not. I tell my father at 66, what are you going to do? Right? What do you want to do? You're still here. You could still climb a mountain. You know what I mean? Like, you're still able to do things. So why are you thinking of it on like the opposite, like the backside of the hill sort of thing? It's just that mindset. If you can cultivate a little bit of like letting go of the human number system that we placed on ourselves with the age, if you can forget about that for a little bit and focus on what's right in front of you, which is, an able mind and a hopefully able, spirit to go try something, and whatever your physical limitations are, you have to adapt from there, right? We're not all able to do the same things, but if your mind is in the right place, you can do a heck of a lot more than you're even giving yourself credit for. You just have to start carving out time. You have to carve out time for yourself to get better. If you're not happy, but you don't have to quit. You don't have to, upend your whole life. You have to be strategic, right? And start carving out time to say, I'm going to do this work. I've been doing it for 14 years. I know how to do it, but I'm going to start doing a little bit at a time, a couple hours a week towards something else. And if you don't know what that is, obviously just do some of this personal development work and find out what lights you on fire. You know what I mean? And start there. That's a good place to start, is to what lights you on fire. Can't all be, all say that we're living the dream, I guess, so to speak, but you can work towards it, right? It doesn't mean today. It means you can work towards it. And if you focus on the personal development, you'll understand the concept of being present and knowing that time is not linear and that everything is just a series of present moments, right? All we ever have is right now. So I keep trying to tell my family and myself to not get caught up in all of it. Just stay focused on what's right now. What am I doing right now? If I was working, I had to work. But if I'm done with work, what am I doing right now? Am I drinking beer? Am I hanging out and doing nothing, just sitting on my phone, scrolling? Do something different. Change the habits. You know what I mean? Because without it, you're just going to be a slave to your former habits, and you'll never change them if you don't grab a hold of the wheel before it's too late, man. That's really it.
I love it. Dude, I've got so much from speaking to you today. It's really, fueled my fire, lighted my enthusiasm. It's reminded me that it's about time that I went and read Think and Go Rich again. So I really appreciate that reminder. I know our audience has got a lot from it, because I know our audience is a lot of people who are stuck and who are on the cusp of making a difference.
Yeah.
If people want to connect with you, find out more from you, learn from you, where can they get in touch?
So on social, at Instagram, it's at the Ironworker Lawyer, or Eddie Mazzu on Facebook. My firm is mazzulaw.com, mazzulaw.com. It's just, been an honor to come on here and talk with you. And there's so much, so it's really hard for me. As you can tell, I have like a hard time distilling it down to like a 30-minute window, but I think we touched on a lot of points today. And I think, there's a good starting point for you to at least get the wheels turning and start thinking about, what am I doing? What am I doing right now? And what do I want? Those are the two connectors right there,
I love it. Eddie, this conversation is not over, my friend. I think we'll definitely get you back on the show and do some work together in the future, because I really appreciate everything that you stand for and what you do, and for taking your time today as well to step out of your routine and run up to Christmas and spend time with me and my audience. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tom. I appreciate it.